So it's really inevitable. We just have to figure out the politics of work and how to deal with it and live with it as a reality.
So even having the politics of work, because that is something that is not going to go away today, but increasingly right now, leaders, previously people would say, my boss is this, my boss treats me how, my boss, find that leaders are increasingly hating. Yes.
Yes, they not do their job. So that when they come later on, there is evidence,
yes,
documented, justified.
So today, again, on our corporate reality check, we're going to talk about a topic that very many of our leaders would be very interested in. I'm going to go through the topic, then introduce our guest who is joining us for the second time. And maybe you need, what do you like taking? Maybe you need chocolates. The fact that you've chosen to come back again for the second time. So today, we are talking about leadership. And here I have notes that were sent to me by someone. Leadership comes with visibility, influence, and responsibility. But it also comes with a reality that many people rarely talk about. Sometimes the higher you rise, the bigger the target on your back becomes, right? Today we are exploring a topic that affects managers, executives, and entrepreneurs. Today we are exploring a topic that affects managers, executives, entrepreneurs, and leaders across every sector. When leaders become a target, workplace defamation, smear campaigns, and reputation protection. That is a topic that you are going to help us enlighten us on the things that we need to know. Many leaders are silently navigating challenges that go far beyond performance. They go far beyond the business results. They are dealing with internal smear campaigns, false narratives, selective screenshots, gossip disguised as concerns, manipulations from teams, anonymous accusations, social media whispers, and this includes WhatsApp, and workplace politics designed to damage their credibility and to erode trust. Often, it does not begin with a major incident. It starts subtly. A leader is excluded from key conversations. Staff suddenly become resistant. Stories are twisted. Confidential information finds its way into the wrong hands. Emotional narratives are created to gain sympathy or shape perception. Over time, the impact can be significant. It affects mental health, authority, decision-making of these leaders. It erodes trust. It also affects career progression and sometimes even personal and family life, right? So for many leaders, the fear of becoming the next target changes how they lead. They hesitate to correct poor performance. They hesitate to enforce accountability. They don't want to document issues and also make difficult decisions because they worry about the backlash, the recording, the accusations, and the reputational attacks. So how do we protect the leaders without becoming defensive? How do they maintain credibility when faced with misinformation? How can the organization create a culture where accountability is not confused with victimization and where truth matters more than rumors? Those are the questions very many leaders are asking. We'll be unpacking this today. Welcome to our conversation. And this is the time that I'll ask our guest to introduce herself the way she wants to be known.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for hosting me again on this show. It's always a privilege and honor to be part of such conversations that are the realities that we live with every day in the corporate world. My name is Dr. Mariam Tauba, and I have a PhD in business management. I do so many things. I teach at yes. I teach at MOOPS, and but I'm also into consultancy, specifically HR and organizational development consultancy. But I am also very enthusiastic about governance, and I am a member actively involved in corporate governance and the Institute of Corporate Governance of Uganda. So basically that's what I do corporately.
And you're a mother and a
yes,
wife.
those are other.
Those are not others. They sit directly here. We are talking about leadership. We are talking about the smear campaigns, and you've brought it very well. You so much at the center of governance. Some of these sit directly under governance, accountability, and so on. So outside what I have read, we've seen very many leaders fear. They are leading with fear. You have people now, you have a mistrust, there is a ping pong between the leaders and the people that they manage every day, because you do not know the conversations they are having outside your conversations. You do not know what they pick out of conversations, because, TikTok and videos, even YouTube, these days people have learned to just pick out what they are interested in. Yes, selectively, what can... They called it victimization, or it can sell for them. So this is what we are talking about today. I have described the whole situation. I want you to first comment about the whole situation, the way you've seen it, experienced it. Yes, then we go into...
Well, being a leader, first of all, is exposure itself.
Yeah.
You're exposing yourself, one, to the people of your team, and then you're also exposing yourself to management. So, of course, you're going to have what I would call the double forces.
Yeah.
One from your team, and then there's also pressure from the management. So you have that double vulnerability
Yes.
from both your team members and management, because they both have expectations of you.
Right.
They expect you to be both on their sides, and yet you have to still remain neutral somehow. So it becomes sort of, should I say, you're between a rock and a hard place.
And a hard place, right.
And you still have to navigate how to deal with both parties.
Yeah.
So it makes it more complex for leaders. And of course, you become more vulnerable to such attacks. Yeah. Yes. If like you said, they'll even go to a personal level. Yeah. And probably affect even your personal life, just besides the corporate life. Yes. So social media has even really worsened it. Yes, because someone will really pick something and not put it in context, and just pick something really small, put it out of context, and then either a screenshot or a voice recording, because they can actually cut off the clips that they know will take you out of the make you
just give you
exonerate you sort of. Yes. So they will just cut out that and then use that small snippet that will make you seem like the bad person.
And by the time you try to prove and bring out the whole recording, it has already escalated beyond what you can.
So much. Okay. Because let's accept that bad news really moves very quickly.
Yeah, it does.
Very quickly. You wake up in the morning and you are the one trending number one, and you don't know. You had a good night's sleep, and then it's everywhere. So it's really inevitable. We just have to figure out the politics of work and how to deal with it and live with it as a reality.
So even having the politics of work, because that is something that is not going to go away today, but increasingly right now, leaders, previously people would say, my boss is this, my boss treats me her, my boss. It used to be a my boss conversation. Right now, it's more of leaders are attacked. And I think it's aided the peers, people of the same level, aiding what we would call maybe sponsorship. They sponsor the people below them just to attack Tauba.
Yes.
I have an issue with Tauba. I may not attack Tauba directly, but I'm going to go to Tauba's people
Yes,
to
yes.
come. Now that is a sponsorship I am making. And you find that leaders are increasingly hating to work. You have 12 people, 10 people that you're managing, and out of 10, 7 have been sponsored. And the smear campaign is happening. Okay, so to go into our questions, leadership has always attracted criticisms, and you've mentioned that. But many leaders today feel increasingly vulnerable to reputation attacks. And we've also seen that. Even when you look at the papers, recently there is a CEO that was, the smear campaign was happening around them. I think it was a previous CEO. What has changed in the modern workplace that is making smear campaigns and character assassinations more prevalent?
Okay, the first and the obvious, what we've already talked about, is the social media, because people know that they can use it against you at any one time. So for anyone, now when you come from a space of the politics at work, that one has been there.
Yeah.
But of course, the circumstances right now have given it more mileage.
Yeah.
And it's now more obvious, because even way before, people would fight at work because I want you to go away so that I take the position, and you're probably the one that is
The obstruction, you're the ceiling.
So I know that it's either me or you.
Yeah.
And one of us has to, go away. But before, of course, it was done in a more decent way, and now it has gone sometimes really nasty, if I'm to say, because social media is giving it the mileage that I can, if I'm to say it in Uganda, like they can, yes, they'll do anything to get just this. But of course, there are more decent ways to do it. As a leader, there are other options you can explore. Either organizations are too pyramid, there is not so much room, and there's nothing you can do about it. So other than going that route, you can actually explore elsewhere as a leader, either go to either into consultancy or find something else.
Now, do you mean for a leader to explore somewhere else, or we are meaning for the people who are involved in these attacks, reputation attacks, and so on?
Of course, for the leader.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like we said, it's going to get personal at some point, and you don't want that, for your corporate life to get into your family or social life. So if I was to advise, if you see or sense anything going to get beyond what you can take, you can step out and actually go and thrive elsewhere.
But does this solve a problem? From what we've seen, this is not happening only in company A.
Yes, of course it's happening elsewhere.
It's happening elsewhere, rather. Does that solve the problem of abantu tebakyaswala baswaza buswaza? Like, what is causing that? What is the root cause?
So as starting out that, and I said that the number one that is giving mileage to that is the social media. And now, when you look at how politics is played right now, majority of even private institutions have influences of leave alone the organizational politics, but there's also this other politics that is infiltrating into organizations. So that alone, you find that government is looking at who is sitting on board ABC, yet it's a private entity.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's an NGO, but you find such interferences, and all those are causing more. The collusion is becoming more intense because there are lots of forces. Okay, so a leader is facing all these pressures coming from different, and sometimes it's really beyond your control. You cannot control it, but you have to find ways of dealing with it. Okay? So now, if you're looking at institutionally, the institution actually also creates these pressures because the policies are sometimes really silent on such issues. How do we navigate? How do we deal with them? Or how do we protect, for example, the leader in their vulnerability? Okay? So how do we make sure that they are protected? Because at the end of the day, they have to be. Yes, like you said, if you find that these are sponsorships that two leaders are fighting or three,
Yeah.
and then they are trying to bring down one.
And like you've said, it could even be an outside sponsorship.
It can actually also be outside, especially because right now corporate governance is becoming a real issue, and so many pressures come with issues of corporate governance. How is the board performing, and even interferences, board interfering with management and vice versa. So appointment of CEOs become very dramatic many of the times. Yes. So if policies are not deliberate on how to handle leadership transitions, leadership behavior, and etc., it becomes really, really bad.
So for the policy documents that I've at least looked at, these things that we are facing, the problems that are highly affecting the leaders are not articulated in those policies. What you find there mostly in organizational policies, you find things that protect employees in general, or it protects the subordinates, but nothing that is articulated to protect the leader. So you find that leaders are operating at a place of who now listens to me. Because as staff, Tauba reports to me, Tauba will be listened to. Who listens to me? Will the HR listen to me? Probably not. Will the CEO listen to me? Probably not. So leaders are under that pressure. And one, the organization has entrusted this leader. It's perceived that we have given you this position. You're supposed to be managed both down and the business results up. So you find the leader is, again, as you said, between a rock and a hard place. You don't feel like you've helped us understand how to get out of that.
Okay, so I thought that how to get out of that would be a closing conversation, but
do you want us to close with that? How to come out of that? We still can.
Okay, there's so many things that can be done both at the institutional level and at a personal level. Institutional, like I said, you need policies that are deliberate. You need to build a culture that focuses on protecting the integrity of leaders, because the leaders are, one, they're managing the culture at the lower levels, but they're also driving business results. So you don't want to compromise
any of them.
Yes, of the two. So you need to be really deliberate about protecting these leaders, creating those spaces, either you're creating feedback loops or open door policies for these leaders to come and vent, because they're not going to vent to employees. Okay, so that alone is going to lay ground for them to know that, well, we have a fallback position when things really get out of hand. But now what happens sometimes is you find that top management, if maybe three leaders are fighting, three managers, they also now fight to take sides.
Yes, they take sides.
Yes, they are fighting to take sides, and then the dispute escalates. So it becomes deeper and deeper and causes more undesirable effects.
We're supposed to be taking the lead in this conversation of modifying the policies that protect both. Now, in this case, protecting the leader, the business, and also the people, the employees. Who is supposed to be taking the lead at a national level, at an organizational level, in modifying those policies?
At the institutional level, it's really an HR conversation. HR and strategy, because these policies are not made in isolation. HR will obviously front them and say, well, if we are to protect the interest of the supervisors, unit managers, and etc., this is what we need to do. If we are to protect the interest of the employees, this is what we need to do. And then, of course, have the conversation with top management and then have these policies approved.
Which I want to think that HR should be part of top management, and maybe they should be already knowing that these things that are happening.
Yes.
That's if you have...
and of course, they need to have the evidence of, if we do not do this, this is what is likely to happen. So this is what we're protecting, because it can go legal. Okay, so legally we're protecting our reputation, because what management wants is for you to do everything with evidence. It's now evidence-based decision making. We are implementing ABC because this is what is likely to happen if we are not compliant. For example, if someone gets a loop for litigation and etc. So you are fronting these policies with justification of what could go wrong, or the effect of what could go wrong institutionally. So that should be the place of HR fronting these policies. Otherwise, if you don't have the justification, they're not going to be implemented. Okay, because it will seem like now top management is siding with leaders. Yes, so you need to have that conversation legally and strategically to make sure that these leaders are protected. So I wanted to go in the industry, there are also regulators, sort of regulators and professional bodies that help with guidance on these policies and how to maneuver around them. So if you're talking about corporate governance, for example, we have the Institute of Corporate Governance that helps to advise and regulate how policies are either formulated or implemented. If it's an HR conversation, then we have the HR Managers Association that is going to still guide in development and implementation and the overseeing of these policies, okay, to the member institutions and the either corporate members and individual members.
Right. Yeah. This is an assumption that the HR is actually interested, most HRs. Of course, there are very many things also that happen at departmental level, and mostly looking at operational things, looking at how organizations are run now. Organizations are busy. So people are grabbing what is close by that needs to be fixed. And you look at these things that we are talking about are things that are far-fetched. We're working on assumption that the HRs you're talking about are firstly interested in knowing that everyone they have in the organization, from the CEO to the last person, they care about their well-being.
Yes, yes.
And they are not compromised. Because we've also seen cases where HRs are compromised either by the employees or they are compromised by the business, and they are not the bridge.
Yes.
They have a side that they lean more against. So still working on this assumption, if HR is that interested and not compromised, then and also are informed, you mentioned evidence-based, they are informed what is happening in the organization. I don't know how many organizations have ever had conversations with their leaders. Just let me, how are you really as a leader? Not how are you treating people? This one complained. The culture is breaking. The culture is sponsored from the top. Those are the conversations that I usually hear people talk about. But how many HRs, again, I'm talking about HRs because you're an HR, how many HRs come up to say, how are you my leader? Really? And you want to know exactly how they are doing, because with lack of that conversation, the questioning, that's why we are having this conversation, that the leaders feel pressed, feel attacked, and they don't have anywhere to go to.
Okay, so now if you notice, recently the trend in HR leadership, the roles are actually transitioning. If you look at most corporate institutions that take the lead, especially in HR transformation, majority are even transforming their HR manager role into people and culture.
Right.
So being the custodian of people entails the totality of the people within that institution. Right. Okay? It will come from top management, mid-level, and the operational. You are the custodian. So you need to protect management, you need to protect your leaders, you need to protect the operational guys. Now, on the other hand is culture. You are still the custodian of this culture. So your policies should be proactive in terms of protection of both people and culture. That's why I said you need to be deliberate about protecting each and every them. Look at the potential HR risks for each of those segments of people, because at some point you have to segment and then customize.
Yes.
Okay, so when you get to the level of you're looking at your supervisors, these are our leaders, and we're probably grooming them for top management, and they carry almost the entire burden, because at that point the burden might even be stronger than the strategic guys, because even the performance pressure is onto them, and also the people pressure is onto them. So you need to be deliberate on each of the segments. What do I do to protect these operational? What policies do I need to protect? Because you come from a point of risk. What risks are patent to specifically these leaders, and how do I protect them? Okay, to make sure that there is a value proposition that they are associating to this institution. So it comes right from that, customizing these policies specifically for these leaders, that their interests are protected. Because if they are not, then you're compromising so many things in terms of your mandate and performance.
We've seen, and you've said it right. You've said it right that you have to segment and see what appeals to who, because at the end of the day, the operation guy may not have the same understanding of the top leadership in terms of the same thing. Maybe it could be the same charter, but explained differently, so that Omuntu also gets to understand exactly what we are talking about. And getting back to the drawing board, knowing that the people, if not understood, they are the drivers of the culture. So there is no difference between this is a culture and we have policies pro people and we have policies pro culture, because at the end of the day, the people drive the culture. What I got from your submission is that HR.
You are impartial. Yes, you are impartial. You are the custodian of all the people. So it is not right for you to be
biased in any way.
Yes, it's not right for you to be. You are the custodian of the people and the culture of that institution. So there's no impartiality.
I think there should be an emphasis on that. And because the things we're talking about, why we're having these conversations, because these are the things that leaders are silently dying with, and there is no help that you see internally. Moving into another organization, setting up a consultancy, looking for another organization hiring is the easiest thing to do. But again, how many leaders are going to be moving from one place to another if the problem is not managed?
And if people are moving, it's still going to come back to you, because as an HR leader, of course, you're expected to manage these turnover rates.
Yes, if the attrition is high, there's a problem.
Yes, if people get to a certain level and leave, it's still going to get back to you. So that is why it is important for you to actually manage it before it gets out of hand, to protect these leaders.
Well, good. So HR, again, this is a conversation. I think this particular one is for you. So, and people who are interested in these kind of things. I know you said HR Association of Uganda, governance and something. There are lawyers who advise organizations on such matters. I think this is something that you should be very interested in. If you want, you could do a bit of a dipstick research in a few organizations to see just how many leaders are suffering. Right now, it's not about employees are suffering, but leaders are equally suffering. This is something of interest, and those bodies will pick it up. Okay, it was worth having you here for the second time.
Thank you.
So when do workplace behaviors such as gossip, and you're talking about culture, you're talking about toxicity, it doesn't come from anywhere apart from gossip. False allegations, those selective screenshots that we talked about, manipulations and office politics cross the line from being unpleasant conduct to becoming defamation or a legal risk. You mentioned legal risk. What should leaders be documenting from the very beginning?
Okay, so like I said, this can happen to anyone. Okay, this can happen to anyone, and being a risk that anyone can take off, can go off with, it can be addressed both institutionally and at a personal level.
Yeah.
So how does gossip turn into defamation, and which data points are important for you as a leader to protect yourself or exonerate yourself in case you find yourself in such an instance? Usually these wars are work pressures. We're probably fighting for the same promotion, or it's a performance management issue, or it is merely cheap organizational politics that can trigger such a war, and then it becomes so bad and goes into defamation, right? When it is targeted to an individual, especially to a specific leader versus another, or versus the people that they supervise, it can really, usually there's no solid information. So it is either something that is taken out of context, and then they say, well, I am basing on this specific screenshot. These days, WhatsApp messages, for example, are being used largely as communication platforms.
Right.
You know, you find there's a sales team and they have their WhatsApp group, there's HR, they have their WhatsApp group, and etc. So just that is enough for someone to pick whatever they are picking, and then before you know it, they are sharing it, and it's being taken out of context. They are picking a specific segment, and then they are using it as evidence to defame you. Okay? It can be a recording. Sometimes someone can come actually and record you when you're not even aware, and then they pick specific segments.
Isn't that illegal though?
Yes, it is. But even defamation itself is illegal.
Yeah.
Okay? As long as there is no evidence.
Yes.
That is why it is important that we're saying that as leaders, what are those data points that you shouldn't miss in case, because we're all at risk? What are those points that you have to stick with, that in case I get into this ditch, I can actually come out with this evidence? Okay, so we're having screenshots, we're having, or even selective screening of certain work behaviors. That in the meeting you said so and so, and that is what someone is going to ride on to create this defamation campaign. So there are so many instances someone can pick on weak points, either intentionally or unintentionally, because sometimes you'll do something and you're not even aware that it can be used against you, but someone picks on that. As a leader, because you're vulnerable, it is you're one against maybe 20, 30, or 40, however big your team is. Okay, so you are more vulnerable to attack because you are more exposed than they are. Yeah. So how do you protect yourself? What are some of those key issues? One, if it is especially work related, you have a team that you're supervising, make sure that you always have the evidence. If it is performance related, have performance results.
It should really be, these are the KPIs.
Yes.
There is no compromise.
Thank you. And these are the performance results.
This is what we are going to discuss.
Yes. So if anything is emanating from there, you have the evidence. Well documented. So we come out of the culture of making performance, for example, appraisals.
Personal.
Exactly. Yeah. So justify it and document it. Whenever there is a loophole, make sure it's documented, that in case that smear campaign comes, you have your evidence.
Right.
Okay? And then we should also make sure that this data that we have, it is not just for us to keep until something comes up. Okay? Make sure that management is aware that so and so did not do their job. Yes, did not do their job. So that when they come later on, there is evidence, documented, justified. And I can use it. Okay? So you have a fallback position. And then you also need to make sure that you are not the one that is patronizing. You know, sometimes when you get into leadership, you get drunk with leadership. You're not patronizing anyone.
You're not drunk with leadership, you're drunk with power.
You're drunk with power. So, you want to patronize people, you know, every time someone tries maybe to cross you, maybe sometimes it's even petty, the things that we pick on. You tell them, okay, wait for the performance evaluation, right? You know, I'll show you during performance.
I'll show you.
So, it gets too petty, and the implications are actually very loud later on, okay? So don't get petty. Build a team that is actually professional and loyal.
Build a team that is professional
and loyal. Yes,
because I think that's where all these problems are coming from.
If you
have a team, for example, you have a team that feels it's in competition for the position that you're holding. It becomes a problem. And also a team that feels, I can go to your boss. I don't know who your boss is at MOBS. I can go to your boss and say, Dr. Tauba did not facilitate this lecture very well. Like there are those also people that are.
So if you come with such evidence, come with evidence. What exactly, even you as my boss, you should be able to have parameters of what is not well. Okay, was it the timing? If it's a 2-hour class, did she come for 1? Did she not do enough research? You should be able to have the evidence, because for a student to come and say, well, the lecture is not well facilitated, there should be evidence. Okay, and for leaders, that is our greatest point, that evidence that, well, what exactly was the problem? Did she give us the wrong thing? Well, I went probably through our Forbes website and they're saying this and she's saying contrary. Or majority of research is actually saying this and you're saying the contrary. Now, that is real evidence, okay? And that one cannot be used for defamation. It is the truth. You didn't do your job. Okay? Now,
you didn't do your job, you didn't do your job. You did.
So, defamation, on the other hand, there's actually no evidence. It is that, like I said, they're picking on certain snippets, certain screenshots, certain selective to favor the campaign to defame you.
And usually what I know about defamation, it's not a one-person campaign.
Yes,
it's like a whole trade of the sponsors, the peers, the externals.
Now, that's why I said, you as a leader, it is important that you have this loyalty with your team. If you have a team of 10, okay, and these guys know you've been professional with them, you've not compromised in any way your professionalism with them, there is a certain level of integrity they hold you with, okay? And it is very hard for them to trade their loyalty.
I've seen a case recently on news. A person that seemed to be very loyal, that turned things, and we've seen those things. Okay, maybe that is 1 out of 10.
If there are instances where you are not professional with them, of course it will obviously come up. Because you're arming this person with evidence to use against you. Okay? So every time you're professional, they always say, if you don't have skeletons in your closet, there's nothing to fear. Okay, you come and say, well, so and so, you've done this, maybe you are two-faced when you come here. Yes, but I know that there's nothing you're going to use against me. I'll stand up and fight and say, you know what, bring it on. Okay, because I know you can't get me. But if you've had instances where you have compromised, of course it catches up with you.
So we are talking about integrity for the leaders as well, because at the time when these conversations are coming up and the defamation, the smear campaigns are coming up, if there is something that you did and hid, this is the time that it's going to...
That's when it's going to come out.
It's going to come out to target you. So whereas we are dealing with these people and we're also fearing for our reputation, we have to make sure that we are dealing with a lot of integrity so that such a time does not come and...
Where they are using these things against you.
So Dr. Tauba picked 2 things. One, and just feeling that now the relationship that we previously had, because the previous work situations and right now are very different, where you can say that I have a relationship, a work relationship with my colleagues. And you're talking about colleagues both at same level, high and down. At the time that we start taking screenshots, documenting every conversation, we just had this conversation, you've left my office, you also have to document that. Aren't we losing the personal relationships that feel good?
Yes.
That we used to have. I know that I'm at work, yes, I work with Tauba, we are colleagues, we are accountable, but I also have a relationship. Like there is something about being relatable, being a good person. Should we keep in a workplace where I have to watch my back every now and then?
Okay, so there's a concept in HR called relational HR. And relational HR basically covers aspects or guides. There are actually relational HR frameworks that help to navigate the different relationships at work. Yes. So HR leaders are now picking more on these, besides driving or chasing targets, what are some of those relational issues that are important, because it all comes from that relational. But now, on the other side, when we're talking about the issue of what do we document?
Yeah.
There's something they say that the internet doesn't forget.
It does not.
Okay? Now, those WhatsApp groups, institutional or departmental or unit-wise, what is the conversation like? Sometimes actually there are casual conversations there, which cannot happen on an email. Okay, they are very casual information. Sometimes people pick on those. So how much are you giving as a leader? Okay,
how much are you using the WhatsApps and not the formal communication channels?
Exactly, because you cannot tell people, okay, guys, there is no banter on this WhatsApp group. Okay, guys, there is no social.
But how can you not have banter on WhatsApp? Unless you're going to blog and say admin only.
Yes, thank you. But which is also not possible because you want people to express yourself. So as a leader, you can actually use it to your advantage, but also not fall victim. Yeah. Okay? To either, if it's anything formal, do not communicate it on WhatsApp. Okay? You're not going to go legal and then you're bringing WhatsApp screenshots. But the defamation person is going to use screenshots to run the campaign. Okay? So, whatever you communicate as a leader, yes, let people come out, let people express themselves, let people relate at a social level besides the work that you talk about on that group. But you as a leader, use that. Do not use it against you. Yeah. Do not, for example, get into the hard banter and think that you're at the level of these guys, because they'll use it against you in one way or another.
And also, I think importantly, knowing that you're not at the same level, whereas you're in the same team, you're not at the same level.
Yes, you're not at the same level. And you have more to lose, actually, when you think about it.
I think, yes.
Yes. So, at the end of the day, you need to, there's stuff that can be documented and there's stuff that is not. In nature, there's what we call the critical incidents. Okay? Maybe there are extremes or in behavior that you can document. That in case this person came back to say ABC, I have documented this. And of course, the policies, if it's a good HR policy, it will give you how to deal with critical incidents. Okay? There are policies on performance. There are policies on grievance handling, because this is where most of this friction comes from.
Yeah.
So if you have dealt with those relational aspects, you have handled grievances. You can't go through a grievance handling procedure and you don't have documentation. How? Because at the end of the day, if one of the parties feel maybe a certain sort of unfairness, they're going to go legal. As HR, do you have backup? Do you have evidence to protect yourself? If it's a performance management issue and someone is going to say that you probably maybe demoted me unfairly, you dismissed me unfairly, and yet there's been persistent performance. Because by the way, not only HR does performance management. At the organizational level,
does performance management?
At the organizational level, every unit manager does performance management.
That's why I was wondering, does HR do performance management?
HR simply oversees, and they're the custodian of the policies that does the performance management. So you as a leader, unit manager or ETC, you're the one doing this performance management, okay? So have the data, okay? And
have these conversations, these were the gaps, these were the corrective actions.
Thank you. We put them on a PIP and the person did improve. Or we took them through this grievance handling or disciplinary action and the person didn't improve. Okay? So when it comes to this person having these snippets, or you had a conversation and they recorded it and then they are putting just specific aspects out of context, it's easy for you to come out.
We've also seen cases where the subordinates report grievances and they are handled one-sided by the HR, then a case is closed.
Thank you.
When a case is closed, you're like, how could you only listen to one side of the story?
Thank you.
What about the other side? That takes us back to HR has to be very balanced.
Impartial.
Okay, so that answers the other question that I was going to ask you, that how do leaders now get to still hold their people accountable? You've answered that in your submission. And then the last one would be for leaders who find themselves at the center of a smear campaign or reputational attack today. What are the first things they should do? And what mistakes should they avoid? I'm reading this question again. For leaders who find themselves at the center of the smear campaign or reputational attacks today, what are the first things they should do and what mistakes should they avoid at all costs?
Okay, so I'll start with the mistakes that they should avoid.
Yeah.
Like I always say, I have this thing that I always tell people: you've come to work, you've come to look for money. Not so. Yes.
Yes, it's a trade. It's like you're going to your munyanya, you've gone to sell your munyanya and go home.
Yes.
Right.
So you need to have that level, a boundary that you set.
An arm's length, kind of?
Yes, sort of. Especially as a leader, given that you are a bit more evaluated than the other people.
Yeah.
So you're more prone to these attacks. So have those boundaries for yourself. How much do you share? Do people have to know what your life or what your life outside work is?
Yeah.
Of course, there are those people that you get fond of at work, just a few, but not so many. And of course, that comes with time, loyalty, and etc. And if it's loyalty that is solid and the relationship is solid, it's hardly that these people are going to be part of a smear campaign against you. Okay?
Assumption.
So protect yourself. Do not make the mistakes of oversharing. And then you need to build that solid team. Okay, build a solid team where you know that out of 10 people, I know maybe 2 or 1 can actually join a smear campaign against me. You have 8 who are the majority, who believe in you and would defend you. Okay, so that comes with a lot of effort with you as a leader. What leadership traits are you exhibiting? What is your leadership style? How are you maneuvering in managing these people for you to be able to get people that can actually stand up for you in such a situation? Okay, so those are the people that are going to bring the evidence. Those are the people that are going to stand up for you in such instances. And I usually advise people in consultancies and team building sessions that as a leader, you need a professional network.
Yeah.
Okay? If you marketing, you need to belong somewhere where, because you find you're probably one HR leader. Or
the dynamics in different organizations are most the same.
Yes, thank you. So it is more likely that you are going to fall back to a professional body for help or advice or guidance in case such a situation comes out. Instead of going back to, because now if it's an institutional defamation campaign, those are the people that are fighting against you. So how do you go back to them for advice or to vent or to seek solace? You cannot. But if you have such an institution where you belong, either a marketers association or an HR body, now you go back because they understand the dynamics of that profession and they can easily help you, to deal with such an instance. Okay?
You can also come up with your whole campaign, your whole PR campaign to restore
to try and restore this image, because at the end of the day, you might want, of course, to stay on the job. And yes,
that is true.
Yeah. And then the other thing is usually about feedback.
Yeah.
Constant 360 feedback. You need to understand the headspace of the people that you're leading. You also need to understand what the people that you report to, what they think. So you need to, especially leaders in middle management, is where this crisis is more, prevalent. So understand the different,
what is happening here,
and then
in their mind, how am I perceived the others, so what do I have to do here?
Yes, so you need to be sharp enough to come up with avenues to get this information, both formally and informally. Okay, you just it is easy for you to get now these gossip lines when they are still, raw and unfiltered, and deal with them, as opposed to you finding out you're trending on X for something.
I think the point of getting feedback from the team, that is something I do a lot as a leader. And let me tell you also that it's not very easy to say that I have a team that I lead, 12 people or more, and I'm going to get feedback. But it's very good to do that. Do you know why? Because you're trying to show them that you're vulnerable. Oh, no, you're not trying to show them. You're actually vulnerable, and you care about how you come across. That now, I want to know how I come across to you as Tauba, so that I see, is there a way I need to deal with Tauba that is different from how I deal with
someone else?
and deal with the other person? It's something that I do a lot. It works. And other feedback they're going to give you is really hurtful, but at least you will know that is there anything I can do about this?
Yes, they're probably not happy about your leadership style or specific aspects.
And sometimes it also takes back, you have a conversation with them and you're like, if it's a leadership style, you tell them, guys, I was going to use an F word, but you tell them, guys, now this is what you're going to deal with this. This is what it is. You have to find a way of dealing with it.
Yes, thank you.
And managing up. Asking your managers or everyone above you how you come across is also good for you as a person. How? Because I have asked you for feedback. If you sugarcoat that feedback and give me what you feel I want to hear, it's your problem.
Yes.
As my leader.
Yes.
It's your problem because at least I made an effort. I needed to make some improvements or maybe make some improvements. But if you
that's why I say that it is important for these feedback loops to be both formal and informal. There's information that you can not get formally. I run a survey and ask people, I'll tell you what you want to hear. But you need those informal, either clinics, lunch clinics, or etc., where you can, people just be. Yes.
And have a golf walk.
The truth actually comes up. So you get to know as a leader and, find the ways of dealing with those dynamics as early as possible.
It reminds me, I had, it wasn't even my immediate boss, it was the head of department while I was working at Pepsi. And this gentleman used to go to Omuntua Wansi, the sales people down, to collect feedback. He used not to go to collect feedback, he used to go and take them out. And the boys could buy for them beer. They drink and after they spill everything. Guy used to stay with one bottle of beer the whole night.
Yes.
But he has collected all the information that he needed.
Yes.
And for the ladies, he used to take them out for dinner. You know how ladies like to be vulnerable, like to feel like, I am favored, I am loved. And they used to give them dinner. And then they ask you, how do you work with your boss? What is the relationship with your boss? And the ladies used to spill.
They'll vent and you have all the
things.
information that you need.
I think he knew what we did not then. We are learning now, but at the end of the day, we've learned what we need to learn.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, before we close, leaders, managers are experiencing a lot in their day-to-day work. They have limited space to share this. Because most organizations right now care about performance, care about the culture is going to be blamed on the leader, or is going to be blamed on that manager. The staff, their reports are increasingly running to the HR department to report ABCD. But unfortunately, today as we speak, the HR is not solid enough have a balanced view, balanced conversation to handle these things. Why we are having these conversations? Because a number of leaders are sharing the same exact things outside their workspaces. They are not going to keep leaving work to go and look for other opportunities, because again, the greener grass the other side is not grass. My friend Viola said it's a plastic carpet. So let us fix it within the organizations. The bodies that need to have these conversations modify the policies. This is a time for you to modify those policies. When you're having conversations, those conferences, have leaders to speak about how they feel, how they come across, because these are going to help both the businesses and also build the leaders that you'd want to stay in the organization and still push for that business. Dr. Tauba, give us your last shots.
Well, the trend right now
Yeah.
is that you don't have to be caught off guard on anything.
Yeah.
So in HR lately, we do what we call the tracking of key analytics.
Yeah.
So like I said, every leader at whatever level, unit, section, and etc. is managing people. So you literally an HR, okay? You are doing personnel management in those aspects.
HR for non-HRs.
Yes. So the data is your friend.
Yeah.
Data is your friend. Evidence is your friend. It's the only way you can deal with issues of defamation,
Right.
issues of work conflict, even when it goes legal. Because it will come back to evidence, it will come back to data. So that should be a weapon for leaders, that there should always be evidence and justification for any of our actions.
Good. Thank you so much. It was nice again having you. Once again, I hope next time I call you, you'll still drive your car all the way up to here. This
Yes,
place is far, but it's a beautiful place. To our viewers, thank you so much for listening, and I am requesting you to kindly comment, share this video with someone else. You do not know how many people you will be helping by just sharing this video. Subscribe, because by subscribing you're helping us bring this podcast again. You don't know who else will be seated here where Dr. Tauba is seated, but that can only be supported if you do subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Even me, I do.
Yes.